again, fellow YouTubers and interwebicans. Okay, so I posted on Facebook, and in a couple of the groups that I'm in, about doing the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I'm going to compare my three phones. And the reason I decided to do that is because I realized I have all three processor types, or rather operating systems, in regards to phones. So the first phone we're going to start with is the iPhone 5C, and I know there's a lot of people talking about it, and how amazing it is, and yada yada yada. And now, keep in mind that the things I'm about to read you, because I wrote all the facts down about these phones, are all facts about the phone itself, and then I will give my opinion on the phone. So, you know, I don't want to see a bunch of people going, oh, you're just hating on iPhone because, you know, you don't like it, yada yada yada. Okay, I get it, okay. So, as I said, the first one we're going to talk about is the Apple iPhone 5C. And so, here you go, that way you can see, it is the Apple iPhone 5C. This is the 16GB version, it comes in the 32GB version as well. The 32GB version is MSRP'd by Apple.com at $199. So, it's a little towards the expensive side on phones. But I mean, you know, comparatively it's kind of cheap too, considering that there are phones out there without a contract, you know, in $550, $600 phones. So, I mean, now, when I picked up my Apple iPhone 5, I picked it up without a contract. It was $600. So, you know, the MSRP on this phone is probably contract dependent. And I'm getting text messages, so I apologize for that. But yeah, it's probably contract dependent. I couldn't find an MSRP without a contract, so we're gonna go based on $199. It's 4.9 inches tall, 2.3 inches wide, and 0.35 inches thick. So, I mean, depending on what you're comparing it to, it can be thicker or it can be thinner than other phones. In regards to a smartphone, I'd say this is a pretty good size. I've had like a range of smartphones, things like that, so this is a decent size. It weighs 4.65 ounces, so it's a little on the heavier side, and especially considering that it's made out of plastic, the iPhone 5S is probably even heavier than that, so it's kind of hefty when it comes to smartphones. It runs on a 1.3 gigahertz dual-core processor, so it's faster than a few other smartphones out there, but there are phones that are faster than this one too. But of course, with speed comes price. So, in regards to smartphones, first of all, these three phones themselves are all in the medium range of the smartphones. So they've all equally balanced, you know, performance with price. So these are all three great phones to pick from. Just getting that out there now. But this is faster. This is the fastest of the three. It can come with as much as 32 gigabytes internal memory, which seems like a lot, but once I get onto the other two phones, you'll realize that this is actually the smaller of the two phones, or of the three phones. Its main display is 1136 pixels by 640 pixels, and I believe it said it was like 332 ppi, so it's pretty good display. The back camera is 8 megapixels, while the front camera is 1.2 megapixels. Front camera is kind of lacking, back camera is doing pretty good. It can record video at 1080p, which is another plus. It has maximum talk time of 10 hours, so that's pretty up there too. And it runs off of iOS 7. Now there are pluses there are pros and cons to iOS 7, so depending on what you're used to and what you like, that could be bad or it could be good. In my case, I adjusted to it pretty easily, considering that I used Macs for a number of years and PC for a number of years, so it didn't really affect me too much. I'm going to go ahead and change the song, since I don't have copyrights for that song. So yeah, those are the specs on that phone, and I apologize, this video is going to be a little bit longer, but that's because it's a tech video, can't really expect a short video on that. So the next one we're going to talk about is the next one I got, which was the Samsung Galaxy Exhibit. So here you go. This phone is MSRP'd by Samsung at $129, 4.8 inches tall by 2.5 inches wide by 0.4 inches deep. So, to give you a little demonstration, It's shorter than the iPhone, but it's also wider than the iPhone. And it's a little bit thicker by about half an inch, but it's still a good phone. It weighs in at 4.2 ounces, which makes it a little bit lighter than the iPhone. It has a 1 GHz dual-core processor, so it's slower than the iPhone. Stock memory, it has 4 GB of internal memory, but it can be upgraded with an SD card up to 32 GB. So this puts it at a 36 GB internal memory if you're willing to put out the money to upgrade. And that makes it a little bit bigger than the iPhone. It has an 800 by 480 pixel display with a 5 megapixel rear camera and a 1.9 megapixel front facing camera. So this front facing camera is a little bit better than the iPhone's, while the rear camera isn't as good. It can record at 720p and has a maximum talk time of 9 hours, coming stock with Android 4.1 Jelly Bean. So again, the OS system on it is all dependent on what you're used to, things like that. If you're used to an Android, really simple. This one's off, otherwise I'd show you, but it's pretty simple. It's similar to the iOS 7. There's minor differences here and there, but it's pretty close to it, so it's a pretty easy shift. And I got that phone after my iPhone. So, yeah. The last phone is the one that I just got. I'm going to go ahead and do the Nokia Lumia 521. This phone is MSRP'd at $136. I got mine a little bit cheaper. So, has a 4.8-inch display, or it's 4.8 inches tall, my bad, 2.5 inches wide, and 0.38 inches thick. So, it's a hair shorter than the iPhone, but it's also, a few tenths of an inch thicker than wider than the iPhone, and again a few inches thicker than the iPhone. And that's simply due to that curve in the back. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but yeah. It weighs in at 4.3 ounces, so it's a little bit lighter than the iPhone, and it has a 1 GHz dual-core processor, which again is a little bit slower than the iPhone, but with what it's running, it's still equal in performance. It has a stock 8 GB internal memory, but it can be upgraded up to a 64 GB SD card. That puts it at a maximum of 72 GB, which makes it more than twice the size of the iPhone. So it's definitely a plus there, but again, that SD card is going to cost you a little bit of money. It has an 800 by 480 pixel display and a 5 megapixel rear camera with no front-facing camera. It only has light sensors. There's light sensors up here. There are no front-facing cameras though. I can't even see. Okay, there it is. There's the sensor. It can record at 720p with 9 hours talk time, and it runs off of the Windows 8 processor. It runs off the Windows 8 operating system. So it's a good phone, but again, different operating system, different things to get used to. Now, my opinions on all these phones. iPhone, I loved it until I started running into issues. With the different operating systems, the battery life decreases the more apps you have. Since you cannot upgrade the internal memory, it's either you back it up or move it to your computer, or you get rid of it, because once you start filling up that hard drive, or whatever the memory is on this, it starts decreasing in speed until, you've just got a brick here. I like the power button up here being flush, well, relatively flush. Same with the buttons on the side. I mean, it's not like it's a hassle. I also really, really like the quick mute feature right there, that little switch, and then the home button down here. It's all pretty smooth, it's sleek in design, nothing to fall apart. The issue is, dropping it, doing any damage to it, anything like that, that becomes an issue. Because I had to replace the charger once, I had to throw away $25 for a charger on this. It runs off the lightning charger, which is hard enough to find on its own, plus the $25 price tag, plus all the repair costs for the damage. If you break this glass screen, it's $40. If you break the internal display, it's $80. Man, it gets really expensive. So be careful with this phone. It is the most expensive of the three that I've compared, and it is the most expensive I've seen on repairs. So that's my opinion on this one. It's good until you run into an issue, and with how careless people can be with phones, that does pose a serious problem. This is the Samsung Galaxy. My opinion on it, it's pretty decent. Once you start filling it up, it does get sluggish. Once you're running a lot, it gets sluggish again, and it's a pain to go through the settings to close all the apps and everything. So it does become a hassle. Also, those low camera settings, it starts getting pretty bad. Like most Android phones, the backplate comes off, so you have access to the battery, things like that. This phone is cheaper to repair, and it's also simpler to repair on your own, because of the fact that everything comes apart seamlessly. It's sleek in design, lock buttons right here on the side, volume control, one single button here. It's got a home button similar to the iPhone, just longer, and the speakers back here, LED. So it runs off the standard USB micro charger, or the micro USB-B charger, however you call it. So it's pretty simple to find, it's pretty cheap to replace. You can get those at the dollar store. So that phone's okay until you start doing quite a bit, and then it gets to be a hassle. Can't really take pictures too well with it. So, now the Nokia Lumia. This phone, I've had it only a couple of days now, so my opinion will more than likely change by the next time I do one of these tech videos. But for the moment, I'm liking it alright. It's nice and sleek. Again, that's, you know, kind of the trend that I go with on my phones. Now, the way you take this apart is different from both the iPhone. Well, it's similar to the iPhone. It's different from the Android system. This raised bump is like that for a reason. You push up on the front, and you push in on the center of the back, and it simply pops out, giving you full access to everything. There's the battery, you got the SIM card here, you got the SD card here. I don't like the fact that the SD card's there, and you have to take out the battery to put it in. I like the feature of being able to slide it in and out whenever you want, so it makes it quick and easy for upgrades. But, again, like the Android, it's all pretty easy to take apart once you get that back plate off. So, again, repair cost is going to be a lot cheaper on this phone than it would be on the iPhone. The full screen is touchscreen. There are no buttons on the front, and I do really like that. Also, you've got smaller buttons on the sides. The lock button, volume controls is standard, but then there's the camera button. The camera is this two-stage click button. So you click it half and click, and you'll feel it click. That starts activating the sensor for the camera, so it adjusts to, you know, focus in or focus out. And then you click it all the way down. There's a second click that you'll feel, and that takes the picture. Or in the case that you're in the home screen, clicking it all the way down opens the camera itself. So I really do like that feature. I was trying to remember, I didn't think the Android had it like that either, but it's a really nice feature to have. So the phone's slightly bigger, and because it's easier to upgrade, I would definitely recommend this phone over the other two, especially considering that you can get it online for as little as $69.99, which, although it is MSRP'd at $136, it can be cheaper than the other two. So I would recommend this phone as long as you can adapt to the Windows 8 system. And I will show you guys that, since, you know, this is the phone that I use now. There's, you know, the main screen. You slide up to unlock. There's all your apps and everything. You can pin as many as you want to the front screen. There's the text message menu. So it's pretty fluid. You can switch over to like online and things like that. I really like it. It's really sleek, and it's easy to back out of all the apps. You can literally just sit here spamming the back button, and it'll pull you all the way back to the start menu, and then all the apps are closed, and it's really simple. So this has been the good, the bad, and the ugly. Currently the iPhone is the ugliest, simply because the screen is popped out. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but the screen is popped out. So that's the ugliest out of all the phones. Metro screwed me all with this one. That's why I have 3 phones. So I love all of you very much. You're all amazing, beautiful people, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see tech reviews, things like that on this channel more often, let me know. Leave it in a comment down in the section below. And I think I'm probably going to do more tech-related videos. I've got a Picasso tablet around here somewhere. I've got my 2 computers, Xbox. So I might do more of these more often. So it's up to you guys. Love all of you very much. You're all amazing, beautiful people. And I will see you again soon. Peace.